John Beaudin, Rock History Book, and our last of three for today, an important one. It happened on January 2nd, 1971. The George Harrison album, All Things Must Pass, started a 7-week run at number one on the U.S. charts, making it Harrison's first solo Beatle album to cross the number one spot. Triple album included with My Sweet Lord and What a Life, Isn't It a Pity. George Harrison's All Things Must Pass would become the biggest selling Beatles solo album. Kind of poetic justice that it happened as a solo album. And if you look at George Harrison's top 10 Beatles songs on Spotify right now, surprise, surprise, at 927 million, Here Comes the Sun is number one. And at number 10, Something at number 10 at 229 million. The second one is Let It Be at 518, Come Together at 567 million, and Yesterday, 466. But what's far on top? Here Comes the Sun. Well, congratulations to George. I'd say that. Let me get back on track here, put some pictures on for you. Hold on. Let me just clear the way here. And we have special guests on today. We've got Ravi Shankar, who was George Harrison's spiritual advisor for the most part, right? We've got David Henschel, who worked on All Things Must Pass. We've got Joey from Badfinger, who's going to share some thoughts. All Things Must Pass is the third studio album by George Harrison, released as a triple album, of course, in 1970. And when people consider things like Band on the Run or Imagine, Band on the Run for Paul McCartney, Imagine by John Lennon, Ringo by Ringo Starr, great albums. But My Sweet Lord, for most fans critically, they usually pick that one. I'm going to give you another picture here. No, I guess it's not working today. Got too many pictures sticking out. I'm going to give you some of the interviews we've got. How about that? Let's do that. I'll push this down. What do we have first? We have Joey Mullen of Badfinger working on George Harrison's All Things Must Pass. The quality of the phone call wasn't the best, but let's take a listen. It's part 12 of our conversation with Joey Mullen. I'm John Beaudin from Rocky Stream Music. All Things Must Pass. What was your? What did you do on that album?
I played acoustic guitar. We played on. I always thought we played on all the tracks, but I'm now not 100% sure. We just played every day with George for about 2 or 3 weeks. We did all those basic tracks. Again, it was such a an enthralling thing to do, be in the studio with all those giants. And they're all playing for George. George is telling everybody what to do. And he did it in a really nice way, of course. But it was such a great experience. It was like he was just in the band, playing with everybody. It was superb. And the songs were great, weren't they? Beware of Darkness, Isn't It a Pity? All Things Must Pass. Just great tunes. We had a lot of fun, some good jams, really great Indian food. We did it at Abbey Road in the smaller studio. It was lovely, man. One of the great experiences,
Looking back, and you kind of answered it in the beginning, but do you have any regrets looking back at any regrets in your career?
Well, I suppose in the Badfinger world, I regret what happened with the band. I really enjoyed my time in the band, and I didn't want to leave. I didn't want to, be any part of breaking up the band, but it's just become evident. Anyway.
We're going to use that for a segment we're using coming up in a couple of weeks where we talk about Badfinger, the band. We have David Henschel, the producer, who worked with a lot of people, most notably Genesis, coming up. Which Beatle had more singles to chart in the top 100? Paul McCartney, 42. He released a lot more music than the other guys. John Lennon, 17 singles. George Harrison, 16. And Ringo Starr with 14. Which Beatle has the most top 10 singles? Paul McCartney, 22. Ringo Starr, 8. Tied with John Lennon at 8. George Harrison with 6. George was not my favorite Beatle, third in line. But to me, John and George, I interspersed them. I love Paul McCartney. I was always a Paul McCartney fan. And, excuse me, it's late. I love Band on the Run. I love Back to the Egg. And I didn't like as many George Harrison albums. But it's kind of cool that George Harrison's Here Comes the Sun on Spotify for the Beatles is number 1 by far. And George has the biggest solo album, All Things Must Pass. Just something that happened today in history in the U.S. I'll go back to it here. It's kind of cool. Of course, with My Sweet Lord, there was the lawsuit, the copyright with Ronnie Mac's song, He's So Fine. But they settled out for a lot of money. So there you have. Oh, which Beatle had more number 1 singles? George Harrison had the first Beatles as a solo artist to have a number 1 single with My Sweet Lord. Harrison was then followed by Paul McCartney's Another Day. John Lennon, released in 71. The triple album, released to 71, another song. Yeah, George. I'm listening to a lot more George these days. Hope you enjoyed our short little one. This is a mini little one. We put it at the last of our show. And there's Back to the Egg right over here. And then, there. Why am I going backwards? That. Back to the Egg was right there. And then, of course, some Beatles albums. Thanks for joining me. I'm incredibly tired. It's really, really late. I wanted to do a few tonight. And I thank you for joining us. More trivia and or Today in History coming up tomorrow. It's John Beaudin, Rock History Book. Take care. I love you guys.